back. Today we're going to continue our series on design patterns. The pattern we're going to take a look at today is the Mediator Pattern. And this is a behavioral design pattern which is intended to facilitate the interaction between a set of objects. By implementing the Mediator Pattern and limiting the direct interaction between objects, you will create a more loosely coupled design and should facilitate better reuse as well as simpler code base within your application. What makes a mediator great is it allows two objects that shouldn't have direct knowledge of each other to interact. And you can do this and you can set up so that in the future, if those two interactions need to change, then you just simply modify the mediator, and those objects are still none the wiser. In our example today, we're going to build a very simple chat mechanism where people are allowed to chat and send message back and forth, but the actual chat clients don't know how they're interacting with the other chat clients. That will all be taken care of by the mediator. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to write all the code for this day, so let's go ahead and do test. Now the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create my instance of my mediator. So we're going to call this chat mediator. And the mediator, to start with, anytime people want to chat, you have to have two people to have a conversation. So we'll call this client 1, client 2. And we'll have our chat mediator. Now obviously I need to create my chat mediator, but I also need to create my client. So let's go ahead and create new chat client. Actually we'll make it so that you provide a name to our chat client. And we'll create our chat clients as well as our mediator. Now we'll have these two clients have a conversation. So let's set this up where chat client 1 says, has a method called send new message. And we'll call this hello Gordon. How are you today? And then we'll set up the other chat client. So Gordon receives this message from Harvey, and he'll say, Harvey, I am doing well. And then what we're going to also do is set up so that someone else can join this conversation. So let's say that we want, Percy to join the conversation. So let's go ahead and create a new chat client. We'll name him Percy client. And Percy wants to join the conversation. So and then Percy will want to have a conversation too. So this is what we're going to implement today. We're going to implement a couple of chat clients, a chat mediator, and have the mediator, handle the sending of messages and passing around between the different clients. We'll spell Harvey correctly. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create my mediator. Let's go ahead and delete this. Let's go ahead and make this public, move this to another file. And we got our chat mediator created. We want the chat mediator to join the conversation, so we'll go ahead and join the conversation here. Let's call this client joining conversation. Go ahead and delete that. Now we've created our mediator class as well as the method to join the conversation. The next thing we need to do is actually go ahead and create our chat client. Let's bounce this over to another file as well. Client name needs to be an auto property. So we've created our chat client. So if I come back to my test, I'm getting a little bit less squigglies. we want to now implement a method called send message. Okay, so now we have, I think, all of our squigglies done, so technically we pass. So now we have our, everything should compile and should run, but it will do absolutely nothing. So let's go ahead and real quickly create our chat client. In order to save some time here, I'm going to copy and paste in some code. So here's our fully filled out chat client. Only thing I've really done here is I've created a few new methods on it. I've created a new event handler, which will allow me to send a message. This will be my notification mechanism. I created a public method that's called accept new message, and I left my property the same, and then left the send message. And all send message will do is check to see if somebody's listening for it, and we'll raise an event with the message attached to it. So we need to now fill out our chat mediator. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I filled in my chat mediator here, and to make sure I didn't do any voodoo magic, let's go ahead and explain what we did. We left the constructor the same, and instead of storing each of the chat clients individually, what we decided to do is put them into a list of chat clients. And the first thing the constructor will do is it'll call the method called setup chat client. And then we've got our join conversation. All join conversation will do is call the same setup, and join conversation is meant for when you want to come in after the fact. We've got a method here called leave conversation. We have an internal method called remove client from conversation. Essentially, this will remove it from list, but also remove the event handler for it. We have setup conversation, or setup client, and we'll add a notification mechanism for each of the client, then add it to the internal list. And then we have something that's called handle message setup notification, message sent notification. And this is actually what is the guts of the mediator. This is actually what's going to facilitate the handing off of a message from one client to the other. So when a client says something, it's going to raise an event. It'll get handled by the mediator, and it's going to iterate through all the different clients and hand off how the processing and the sending of those messages. So let's go ahead and bounce back to our unit test here, and let's run this and see what happens. If I put a breakpoint at the very end and run this, you should actually see the conversations taking place. And if I look down on my output window, you can see that sent to Gordon from Harvey. Hello, Gordon, how are you today? Sent to Harvey from Gordon. Harvey, I'm doing well. And then when Percy joined the conversation, he says, hey guys, thought I'd say hello. This message was actually sent to both Harvey as well as Gordon. Now we can go one step further, and let's say that we want, Gordon wants to leave the conversation. And then after Gordon leaves the conversation, maybe Harvey realizes it. He wants to, say, hey, wait, where did you go? And if I rerun this real quick, you can see we get the same thing, except for now when Harvey says, hey, Gordon, did Gordon just leave? It only goes to Percy because Harvey has been removed. What we've demoed here is the ability to create this mediator class, which will handle all the interactions between the various clients. If we didn't have the mediator, each of the clients have to know about each other and would also have to know intimately how to communicate to each other. And that's pretty bad because you don't want that very tightly coupling between your objects, because that's not really their responsibility. It's not their responsibility to know that they're having a conversation with Gordon and with Harvey and Percy. It's only their responsibility to say, hey, I have a message, I'm going to send it to the world, and it's the world's job to understand who's listening to that message and provide that to them. So I hope you can see here in about 8 or 9 minutes how the mediator pattern can be useful and how it can decouple your design and can be used to facilitate interactions between various objects. So I hope you learned something. Until next time.